Trump goes electric and promotes the all-electric pickup truck from Lordstown Motors at the White House event. How did this very unlikely turn of events come about? Well, InsideEVs contributor Tom Moloughney will explain, and the Lordstown Motors CEO will be here to tell us why this truck is different from the others. Tesla beats expectations and delivers a record number of cars in Q3, but is it enough to get to the 500,000 per year promised land? We'll crunch the numbers. Elon Musk is unhappy with the media coverage of the battery day. I will tell you why. Nikola Motors goes after its critics in a very nasty way. Walmart orders tons of Tesla semi-trucks. Mercedes unveils a video of its avatar concept in motion. Lucid sets their best time at Laguna Seca, but is it enough to beat Tesla's Plaid Model S? And Ford drops the price on the upcoming Mustang Mach-E. All of this is coming up next. Welcome to E4Electric, your number one source of electric car scoop. If this is your first time here, well, perfect timing. They just came up with a subscribe button that you should definitely hit, and then the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, before we get to our top story, we need to talk. Now, I know the story involves Trump, and I know all of you have an opinion about him, including myself, but this is not about politics. This is an electric car story, so if you're going to be posting anything in the comment section of this video, please, nothing political. If you do post political stuff, Trump, Biden, virus, whatever, I will remove the comment and you won't be able to comment on this channel in the future. So, fair warning, ready? Let's start. Donald Trump has hosted a team from Lordstown Motors at the White House. Now, just in case if you're not familiar with the Lordstown Motors, they are a new company that will be producing the all-electric pickup truck called Endurance in the next year at the former GM factory. Endurance will start at $52,500, that's before the tax credit, and will have a range of 250 miles. The Lordstown CEO, Steve Burns, was at the reception, and when I talked to him a few months ago, I asked him about the very unique audience that they have for the truck, and here's part of that conversation. And we're talking about an all-electric pickup truck, which has been a thing lately. Now, I'm sure you're aware there's a Cybertruck and Rivian and so forth. Tell us a little bit about what is so unique about yours.
Yeah, you're right. It is suddenly a very hot space, right? Obviously, we started years ago, but it's come to be kind of the hottest sector, and we have a lane to ourselves. I think that's what's different, right? I mean, the mechanics of our truck, it's a hub motor truck. It's the first hub motor production vehicle ever made. So the mechanics inside are quite different than any other electric vehicle. But the lane that we're positioning it in, like you mentioned, Rivian, I think they are a mid-size truck. We're a full-size truck. Ours is geared to commercial work truck users, commercial fleets. I think theirs is a luxury adventure vehicle is the market they're going after. The Cybertruck, I'm not sure what market that's after, but I don't think it's after, your average landscaper or delivery person. So again, we think our lane is clear.
As you probably know, the Trump administration hasn't always exactly been friendly to electric cars or the pro-environmental technology, and so this is a pleasant surprise. However, it's no random coincidence, and I will let InsideEVs contributor Tom Moloughney explain a little bit of history behind that. But before that, a quick reminder that this channel and this video is sponsored by KANDI AMERICA. The most affordable electric car in the US is the K27, starting under $10,000 after the federal tax credit, and also check out the K23 for under 20. Delivery starts soon, so reserve yours by using the link in the description of this video. And by NeoCharge, already have a 240 volt outlet but want to charge 2 electric cars, or maybe split it between a car and an appliance without spending tons of money on an electrician? Well, you need NeoCharge. Get one today and use the discount code in the description of this video. All right, Tom, President Trump endorsing an all-electric vehicle. How did we get here?
Who would have thought, right? So we've got to go back a couple of years. Back in 2018, there was a United Auto Workers strike at the GM plant at Lordstown. It took almost 2 months, I think, to settle. And shortly after it was settled, GM announced they were going to be closing that plant in the spring. And that's where they made the Chevy Cruze. So as soon as that was announced, President Trump immediately jumped on and sent out some crazy tweets and called GM. And you have to understand how important this is. He promised he was going to add manufacturing jobs to the Ohio area and the Rust Belt in general. So now all of a sudden they were going to lose 1,500 jobs. So he threatened to strip GM of all their subsidies. We really didn't know what he was talking about at the time because nobody really knew what subsidies he was referring to. The only thing he could have possibly been talking about was the federal tax credit, which all the manufacturers get. He couldn't take that away from GM if he wanted to. And in any event, it was about to expire. GM was a month or so away from hitting their 200,000 tax credit limit. So that was going away by itself. In any event, the president was not happy at the time and was blasting GM publicly. And then I think it was about a half a year later. So the plant closes in March and they're out of work. And then a few months later, we get this announcement that GM was selling the Lordstown plant to Lordstown Motors to make the Lordstown Endurance pickup truck. Of course, Trump took that as a victory, that his pressure on GM forced them to sell it, which may be true. We don't really know what went on behind the scenes, but this definitely was a win for the president.
All right. Now, listen, obviously he's a polarizing figure, and no matter how you feel about him, at the end of the day, me and you, we care about electric cars and implementation of the electric cars into our lives. Do you think this is a great sort of a push forward for the entire electric car revolution? Because usually his base and his following are not exactly electric car enthusiasts, and maybe it won't make them buy the electric vehicles just yet, but at least make them accept them. So do you think this is good for all of us?
It absolutely is, but don't discount all of his followers. There are a lot of Trump supporters that love electric cars. I know quite a few of them. So, but I understand what you're saying. In general, it seems that, the people that lean right aren't as supportive with EVs as those that lean left. But that's just a stereotype. It's not entirely true. In any event, yes, as you said, it is a win for electric vehicles. Much like when President Obama years ago visited the GM plant that was making the Volts. It made the news. Everybody was cheering it. Having a president stand behind an electric vehicle, especially from a startup American manufacturer like Lordstown, that carries some weight. So good move, and it's great for the electric vehicle movement, in my opinion.
Tesla has beat expectations. By the way, I can totally get used to saying this, but they beat expectations and delivered almost 140,000 cars in the third quarter of this year. They've produced a little over 145,000 of them. Now, this is the first time this year both factories in Shanghai and Fremont were operational at the same time and throughout the entire quarter. And it looks like it's pretty reasonable to expect that the Q3 will also be profitable. But here's a bit of a problem, because during the Q2 earnings call, Elon has confirmed that the target for the year was still 500,000 cars. Which means, if I do my math right, and I should because I am Russian after all, Tesla will have to deliver a little over 182,000 cars in the last quarter of this year. And that's kind of pushing it, though I gotta tell you, they have pulled quite a few miracles this year, so I'm pretty confident that this is not out of their reach. I will keep you posted. Some more good news for Tesla, because their relationship with Walmart once again is flourishing. Let me remind you that right after the Tesla semi-truck unveiling, Walmart Canada has ordered 15 of them, but then later Walmart sued Tesla for some of the solar panel fires on their roofs. That lawsuit was dismissed, and now all is forgotten because Walmart Canada has ordered 130 of the Tesla semi-trucks. Now, we don't know when the semi-truck goes in production, but it's been almost 3 years since its original unveiling. Now, most people don't even remember it was the unveiling for the semi-truck because of, the Roadster, and that was amazing. Now, I remember because even though I did not get inside the Roadster, I did get inside, and I think till this day, I am the only one who was able to get inside of the semi-truck, and that was awesome. The semi-truck will be manufactured in Austin, Texas, and that factory is still being built. So if I had to guess, the mass production of the semi-truck will probably start in the beginning of 2022. Elon Musk has expressed his frustration during his interview with the New York Times podcast Sway, hosted by Kara Swisher, calling the coverage by the media sad and suggesting that media simply did not understand it. I should mention that there was no press invited to the Battery Day. There were no press releases on any type of communication to the media before, during, or after the event. Normally, media is invited to an event. A lot of times we have our own media day where kind of a behind the scenes, the representatives of the company tell us about the event ahead of time, show us the product, the car, whatever it might be. There is a press release so we can kind of prepare ourselves, we can ask questions, we meet members of the team, but none of it was available from Tesla. As a matter of fact, Tesla doesn't really have a PR department. Lately, in the last few months, myself and pretty much every single electric car journalist that I know told me that Tesla has stopped talking to all of us, and therefore there is really no communication at all. I encourage Tesla to create a department and have a communication with the journalists, because this way they can help us help you guys receive this information in a better fashion. Well, what is worse than not having a PR department? Well, Nikola has the answer, and normally as I talk about Nikola, just like when I talk about any other brand, you would see a B-roll of their Nikola trucks, but not this time, and probably not moving forward ever. So for the rest of the segment, you're just gonna have to look at this pretty face over here. But with all seriousness, this is actually quite disturbing, because we found out about a week ago that Nikola started to go after YouTubers and journalists who were specifically critical of Nikola in the last couple of months. So what Nikola did, they started submitting what's called copyright strikes against those YouTubers, suggesting that the B-roll, the very specific video that they themselves provided to the press, was infringing on their copyrights. Now, that's usually not the case. Most of us are protected by the fair use law, and they know that. Now, this is dirty, even for Nikola. Now, luckily, a lot of journalists and YouTubers have started to report on that, and with all of this negative publicity, Nikola finally backed down and rescinded those copyright strikes. But at the same time, a lot of us got really spooked by this, because we have never seen anything like this before, and a lot of us just don't want to cover this brand anymore. So I would suggest, if Nikola wants to have any type of good relationship with the media moving forward, that they start the new chapter as they should and do things in a very different way rather than the Trevor Milton way. Back to some happier news with some B-roll. Lucid has unveiled yet another piece of some impressive news. They have completed the Laguna Seca run in just 1:31 and 3. Now, that would have been a record if Tesla didn't announce at their Battery Day that the Plaid version of the Model S prototype did it in 1:30 and 3, which is 1 second faster. Still pretty impressive if you ask me. Lucid giving Tesla very much needed competition. They have made a good name for themselves in the electric car arena in the last couple of months with their 517-mile range, 350 kilowatt charging rate, quarter mile in just 9.245 seconds, and it's headed by Tesla's former chief engineer for the Model S, Peter Rawlinson. I love the competition. It only makes me more excited about the next year. The Ford Mustang Mach-E is coming to the streets near you. The production starts very, very soon. It will have a range of 210 all the way to 310 miles and a lot of other impressive stats. I was at the unveiling. It was a huge deal. I absolutely love the car, and I think it will be one of the most anticipated cars of 2021. But now Ford is lowering prices for almost all Mach-E models. It will now start just under $44,000. That's about $1,000 less than the originally announced price, while the premium models will get the discount of up to $3,000. Obviously, they are trying to keep up with the existing competition from the Tesla Model Y, Kia Niro EV, and Hyundai Kona EV, as well as the upcoming competition from Volkswagen ID.4. Now, if you remember, back in January at CES 2020, you know, when you could even have a CES 2020, Mercedes-Benz has unveiled their vision car called Avatar, and they had probably the biggest line that I've ever seen in the last 3 years of attending to see any car, so it was very popular. Now they have unveiled some footage of this car actually driving, and as if you can wait a second, that looks very familiar. Oh yeah, okay, I remember that. That's exactly where I was test driving the EQS prototype, and that was a lot of fun. But apparently, as soon as we left, they took out the big guns and filmed that footage. Now, obviously, this is just a vision car, but it's got some really cool futuristic features, like the car is controlled by a control unit that you put your hand on, and that's how you kind of navigate the car. The interface is projected onto your hands, so I thought that was quite interesting, and it has the crab walk when it can move sideways, much like the newly unveiled feature in the upcoming Hummer EV. Now, I don't know if Mercedes even intends to make this car, but they do intend to make the EQS. Now, as you can see, I also was able to check out the actual production prototype, which is right next to it. It was camouflaged. It's probably not going to look as awesome as the original concept, but Mercedes says it will go on sale here in the United States next year. Let me remind you that Mercedes already has a pretty awesome electric car called EQC. It's an SUV and it's been on sale in Europe for about a year now. Now, Mercedes has delayed its release in the United States until the next year, but I just talked to them a couple of days ago and they said that they still don't know if that's actually going to happen. I really hope so. I had a chance to test drive it in Frankfurt. I think it's a great electric SUV, so I do hope that we get a chance to see this car on our streets here in the United States sometime next year. A quick shout out to one of my newer Patreons, Amorpax Inc. What an interesting first and last name, but either way, thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you also want to support my channel and my ongoing addiction of paying my electricity bill for the studio, please go to patreon.com/e4electric. I do weekly live, updates here, something that I don't always share to the entire YouTube audience. So if you want to hear about some behind the scenes stories, definitely join me on Patreon. Looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.